In this video, we're going to talk about a shoe that Tracksmith claims empowers runners from the first mile to the finish line. In this video, we're going to talk about the Tracksmith Eliot Racer. Hey runners, and welcome to my channel. My name is Letty and I host this very channel where I create all sorts of running content for you guys, including shoe reviews. I also host the Marathon Running podcast that you can listen to weekly and now also see on YouTube. But today, you're not here for that. You are here to talk about the Tracksmith Eliot Racer and hear my review on that. But before we do that, let's hop into the disclaimer. This shoe has been provided to me for the purpose of review. However, no one is paying me for this review and all opinions expressed here are my own. All right, so with the disclaimer out of the way, we're going to talk about the model and purpose of the shoe. This shoe is called the Tracksmith Eliot Racer because, surprise, surprise, it's a racing shoe. And just to give you a little bit more background about Tracksmith, the brand Tracksmith it's an apparel brand, but they do have one shoe already, which is also called the Eliot. And that shoe is a daily trainer. I have reviewed it in the past. You guys can find it. And to me, that shoe was not just a daily trainer, but more of a fashion shoe. So it is completely different than what this shoe has been created for. But given that the previous shoe was a little bit more of a fashion shoe to me, I thought I would have the same experience with that. I actually received the shoe while I was in Boston, and I had the London Marathon the weekend after that. And because of my previous experience with the Eliot shoe, I decided not to run the London Marathon in it. And now I'm back from London, having not raced it in this shoe. And I'm thinking, what a missed opportunity. And I guess I'll tell you more about that now, but let's talk about some of the tech specs of the shoe. On the Tracksmith website, the shoe is listed to come in at 7.7 ounces, which is 218 grams, which is for a men's size 9. I always wear my own shoes, and this shoe for me in the size 8.5 women's comes in at 7.17 ounces, which is 203 grams. So this is a very light racing shoe, and it falls right into that category of all the other racing shoes. When it comes to the heel drop, the shoe has a 7.5 millimeter heel drop coming in at 38 millimeters in the back, dropping down to 30.5 millimeters. So it's not as high as others, and it also doesn't look as high, but we're going to talk about why that is in just one second. Last but not least, the shoe feels very stable and it is a max cushion shoe. When it comes to the colors of the shoe, this shoe is available in 2 colors for each men and women. What you see here is the ivory gold, but obviously there's also the navy gold available for purchase. Last but not least, let's talk about the price point of the shoe. The shoe comes in at $280, right in line with all the other racing shoes on the market right now. All right, let's talk about the key features of the shoe. This shoe is aesthetically very pleasing and it is very light. As you can see, Tracksmith on their apparel always has a sash, and you can see that sash here also in gold, which it is not made out of the same material of the remainder of the upper, which also makes you realize they've used that sash very smartly to give your shoe more structure with it, because that part is not flexible at all and it nicely keeps your foot in place. The remainder of the upper is made out of engineered woven mesh and it is very lightweight. The tongue of the shoe is gusseted, which helps keep your foot in place and again helps the structure. And the tongue as well as the collar of the shoe is lined with suede, which is a very nice detail, especially if you are like me and you like to either wear socks that hide, or sometimes you don't even wear socks. So that kind of helps this whole situation because you're not gonna chafe against anything. I have to say that being a person that likes to wear shoes barefooted, there are no hot spots when you wear the shoe barefoot, which is really, really nice. A lot of racing shoes are trying to go as lightweight as possible so they don't put cushion or anything soft on spots where they could, just to keep it lightweight, but here that is definitely not the case. Another thing I noticed is that the laces on one side are silicone lined, which I think is amazing. The most frustrating part is if you are tying your shoes and you're not tying them hard enough, or the laces are not as good and they come apart. You don't want to have that happen during your race, because that takes time and you have to go to the side and people might trip over you and all that stuff. So I really appreciate having silicone lined shoelaces. Hopefully other companies will copy that idea. All right, so I talked about the heel color. You have a little pull tab here, but it's not really a usable pull tab, but you probably don't need it because the color is very stiff and you can just slide in it. I don't think you'll have a problem getting the shoe on. Now moving on, the shoe does have the rocker geometry, which you feel a rocker, but it's not a very aggressive rocker. I think it is just right. All right, so let's move on to the foam and what's in all of this, because that is what kind of makes and breaks a shoe, right? So this shoe has, from the bottom, a very thick outsole made out of rubber that is durable, that to my pleasant surprise goes all the way to the side. So even if you wear that shoe, it's probably going to be a little bit more durable than most of these shoes that have nothing here, where you're just running on pure foam. The foam that you see that is exposed right here is Pebax foam. And there's a full-length carbon plate inside of the shoe. And the other foam that is in the shoe is actually a drop-in. So it's a removable foam layer of a TPU foam. And I'm going to show this to you. Beautiful, fitted, doesn't slide. This is what does the magic. And it was made very nicely. And another cool detail that Tracksmith does is it has a message on this. It says, "Race day is sacred." And then it tells you about training. Training doesn't happen in a vacuum. We push our limits and workouts because we know that the race will test them even more. Race day is sacred. It's the ultimate expression of a runner's faith. Towing the line tests our beliefs in the work we've done, in the speed we've summoned, in the toughest of our minds. Ultimately, we race because we believe that the physical and mental demands of racing load to a richer and more thrilling life. Chasing a personal record keeps us hungry and humble. It makes us better human beings. At every level, the pursuit of a personal record is running at its best. And while this message might seem corny to some of you, or some of you might not even have discovered this message in your racing shoe at all, it actually, I think, is a brilliant idea, because when we go to a race, normally the day before the race or the day of the race, we are really in our heads and we don't think the way we normally think, and we don't joke around because we put so much effort and energy into racing, that having this message here is a really, really cool thing. So kudos to Tracksmith for doing that. And again, this insert goes into the shoe and stays put very nicely. I think it's kind of cool that they have decided to make a shoe just like that. See, I already put it back in and now it'll stay put, and there is no chafing or anything, no blisters, no sliding around. Really, really cool. So with all that, I'm going to tell you about my first impression with the shoe. When I first saw the shoe, I was given the option to choose if I wanted blue or this color, and I wanted this color again because I thought this was going to be a shoe that I wasn't going to ever race in, just to be honest, because it is an apparel brand that made the shoe. I thought, okay, the shoe is going to be for quick tempo works, but also I'm going to definitely wear it with clothes, so I wanted to have a color that matches most of my apparel. And man, was I wrong. And before I get into that, I'm going to show you what the shoe looks like when I wear it. All right, so now that you saw what the shoe looks like, I'm going to tell you about my true experience with the shoe. I got this shoe, thought it was pretty, I put my foot in it, and I started running in it, and it really, really, really feels like a very bouncy racing shoe, comparable to the Alpha Fly and the Hoka Cielo X2. I think it's definitely a shoe that can keep up with them, if not maybe even surpass them. I don't know. I didn't end up running the London Marathon in this shoe, and I'm really disappointed that I didn't, because I ended up having a good race in London, but they say don't try anything new on race day, and I didn't know the shoe was going to be as good. But then I wore it for my fast miles on weekends and little workouts, and this shoe definitely springs you forward. It has great energy return. It doesn't give you foot fatigue, and when I talk about foot fatigue, I mean that normally when I run in some shoes, and I try hard in these shoes, my foot muscles feel sore. I feel like if you're wearing it for workouts, ensures that the next day you wake up and you don't have as much pain as you would with a shoe that isn't as cushy or as bouncy. So that was a really, really good experience. I also definitely like the look of the shoe. I'm obviously biased. I have Tracksmith apparel and I like the Tracksmith brand. I think it is a very stylish look, and I definitely enjoy wearing this shoe. It feels like a premium shoe, and hopefully with time I can get lots of miles on the shoe. I plan on posting an update as I will keep wearing the shoe to let you know what the shoe looks like after 100 miles, because I do have a lot of racing shoes that I have worn for over 100 miles, so I can quite well compare the shoe to other shoes just to see what it looks like on the spots where I normally wear out my shoes first, mainly here on the side. Because like I said earlier, I was very pleasantly surprised to see that they have put the outer outsole rubber all the way to the side, where I'm not going to trample down the foam first and have it look a little bit more crappy. So very happy with that. Very happy with the lightweightedness of the shoe, and you know, it falls right into that price point of racing shoes, and I think the shoe can definitely deliver. Who do I recommend the shoe for? I think I recommend the shoe for anyone on the market for a marathon racing shoe. They're in the same price ballpark than most of these shoes, but at the same time, compared to, for example, the Hoka Cielo X2 or the Alpha Fly, this shoe doesn't feel as aggressive. It feels a lot more stable. I also recommend the shoe to all Tracksmith super fans because it's just beautiful. And even though I don't think you should be wearing it as a hybrid, I mean, maybe you still will. I don't know. It's just so beautiful with the gold sash. So that's just my own personal opinion. And that just goes to show that they did a great job. Good job, Tracksmith. I do recommend this shoe. Thank you so much for tuning in, and stay tuned for many more shoe reviews coming up in the next coming months. And until next time, have a great week of running.